Have you ever just stared at a blank page, feeling like the brilliant ideas in your head are getting completely lost in translation? That battle to write clearly? Well, what if I told you the secret isn't in some dusty grammar book, but it's actually hiding in the epic, centuries-long story of science itself? Stick with me because we're about to connect some of the biggest ideas in history to the single most important part of your writing, the paragraph.
Okay, so let's start with a scene that I'm sure is going to feel way too familiar for anyone who's ever tried to get their work out into the world. It is a truly universal struggle. So, picture this. Here's our researcher sitting at their desk, and they're caught in this classic tug of war. On one shoulder, you've got the voice of dedication whispering, "You can make this better. Rework that sentence, make it clearer." But on the other shoulder, you've got pressure practically screaming, "Just publish it. It's good enough. You're running out of time."
And of course, pressure wins. They rush the submission. And what's the result? A mountain of revisions comes flooding back. The feedback says the text is confusing, it's disorganized, it's a huge waste of time, and worse, there's that constant fear that another researcher is going to publish first. See, the problem here isn't just a few typos, it's a fundamental failure to build a logical path for the reader to follow.
And here's where things get really interesting. This is the big idea for our whole explainer. What if the key to solving this very personal, very frustrating writing problem isn't about learning more rules, but about understanding a much, much bigger story? What if, to fix the blank page, we have to zoom all the way out and look at how science itself has learned to think?
So, let's take a quick trip through the history of knowledge itself. You'll see how our relationship with the world and how we talk about it has been completely turned on its head. Okay, so check this out. The relationship between the scientist, let's call them S, and the object they're studying, O, has gone through these four massive shifts. It started with pure reason, where pretty much only the scientist's ideas mattered. Then, the pendulum swung all the way to the other side, total, cold objectivity, where only the object mattered. But then, it got more complicated. We realized there's an interaction, and finally, we've arrived at integration, where you really can't separate the observer from the thing being observed. For a huge chunk of human history, science was defined by what's known as the Old Alliance. We're talking from ancient myths all the way through the Enlightenment with giants like Galileo and Newton. The fundamental idea was simple. The scientist is over here, and the thing they're studying is way over there. They're separate. The job was to be a detached observer interrogating a silent and passive natural world. But then, boom, everything changed. It wasn't a gradual shift, it was a complete rupture, a metamorphosis in the very fabric of scientific thought. And that rupture brings us into the era of the New Alliance. Thanks to thinkers like Einstein, Planck, and Prigogine, we started to see that the universe isn't some predictable clockwork machine. No, it's messy, it's complex, it's interconnected, and the very act of observing something changes it. It's not a one-way street anymore.
So what does this actually mean in practice? It means science stopped being a monologue and turned into a dialogue. And this slide just lays it out so perfectly. We went from interrogating nature to engaging with it. We're no longer this separate objective observer trying to find a single capital T truth. No, now we're part of the system we're studying, exploring all the complex possibilities from the inside. Science became a conversation.
The Nobel laureate Ilya Prigogine just nailed it when he described this shift. He called it the new alliance between man and nature. A relationship built not just on reason, but on dialogue, and I love this part, on passion.
Okay, I know. A new alliance, dialogue, complexity, these are huge ideas. But what on earth does any of this have to do with our researcher who's just trying to write a clear paper? Well, let's connect the dots right now.
The Spanish poet Antonio Machado gives us the perfect metaphor for this new world. Wanderer, there is no path. The path is made by walking. In a complex reality, there isn't some pre-made road to the truth that we just have to find. Nope. We, the explorers, have to actually build the path as we go so others can follow.
Which brings us to the most important question for any writer. If we accept that understanding isn't a straight line, how in the world do we build a clear, logical, easy-to-follow path for our readers? How do we guide them through the complexity? The answer, believe it or not, is simpler than you think. We build that path one step at a time. We build it with our most basic, most powerful tool, the paragraph.
Every single paragraph you write needs a guide, a controlling idea. The formal term for it is topical phrasal, but we all know it as the topic sentence. And it's not just whatever sentence comes first. It's the core idea that everything else in that paragraph serves. Its job is to introduce the main point and, this is key, make your reader curious enough to keep walking down the path with you.
Just look at the difference here. A weak topic sentence like, "The Berlin Wall was destroyed in 1989 is a dead end. It's a fact. Okay, and the conversation's over. But a strong one, with the fall of the Berlin Wall, the world evolved into a new order. That's an invitation. It makes you ask, how? What kind of new order? It opens up a path and invites the reader to explore it.
You know, the absolute best way to think about this is that every paragraph is a tiny, miniature version of your entire article. The topic sentence, that's your title. It announces the big idea. The sentences that follow are your body sections. They give all the proof and the details. And that final sentence, that's your conclusion, wrapping up the point and setting the reader up for the next step.
And this is where it all clicks into place. This new, complex way that we understand science demands a new, more thoughtful way of communicating it.
So what does this mean for your next paper, your next report? It means the old way of just dumping facts on the page, that old monologue style, it just doesn't work anymore. Your writing has to be a dialogue. You have to guide your reader, building a clear path for them, paragraph by paragraph. And you have to remember that you, the writer, are a part of the story you're telling.
So, the next time you're staring at that blank page, don't just think about filling it up. Think about the entire history of science. Remember that you're not just reporting facts. You are building a path through a complex world for someone else to walk. And that incredibly important work starts with one single, strong, well-crafted paragraph. The only question left is, what path will you build?